A couple of years ago, I came up with this frame system. This is when the boys were little. They always used to run out to the barn, and just to give them something to do, I would set them up painting upstairs. And so now my little girl is at that age, and often she's upstairs painting while I'm down here working. And basically what it is, it's a masonite panel that velcros onto a backer board. And we used to sell these in the gallery. In fact, I'm making a few for clients. And I'll have a couple extras if you live in the Red Bank area and you're still looking for something. These should be in there by Saturday. But it's a pretty easy project. You should be able to do it in a few hours. I think the most important thing though is maybe cut the panel first so your kid has a chance to make a painting on it. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got an old bundle of cherry wood flooring, and this is what I'm going to use to make the frames. And the first step is to mill the material to 5/8 of an inch by 1 3/4 inches. I finished milling all the molding on the table saw, and then I ran it through the sander. Now, you don't need a sander like that for this project, but if you've got one, you may as well use it. And then I rough cut the molding. And the reason why I did that is, or rough cut it to length, the reason for that is some of the boards were warped, and I was working with a lot of short pieces anyway. And when you're trying to cut a rabbet joint out with a table saw, and you've got a warped board, there's a good chance that it will bind between, the wood will bind between the fence and the blade. And that burns the wood, and it's just kind of a mess. So the shorter pieces of wood will be a lot easier to work with. So that's the next step. I need to cut a rabbet joint in all of the molding, and that's to accept the 1/2 inch plywood. I want a 3/8 inch deep rabbet on all of the molding. So the first cut will be this right here, 3/8 meaning from this line to the top of the molding. Once I finish making that cut on every piece of molding, I'll then change the fence and the height of the saw blade and remove this area next. I'll make a few test cuts to find the height. I want to be just a little bit above the line. All the frames are going to measure 9 inches square, and I've already cut a miter on one side of the frame. Now I'll measure out 9 inches to the long point, draw a line on the fence, and cut the next miter. On second thought, I think it would be nice to have a stop block here also. Once I finished cutting all my parts, I painted the 1/2 inch plywood that will be inserted into the frames, and that's out drying in the sun. Now as soon as I finish assembling all my frames, I can bring the plywood back in, cut it to size, and put everything together. I'll use a little wood glue and 5/8 inch long nails in the nail gun. I finished cutting all the panels to size, but before I start to assemble the frames, I'm going to drill 1 1/4 inch hole in each panel, and it's really just a finger push. It will make it easier to remove the paintings. And to attach the panels into the frame, I'll simply use a bead of hot glue. I finished making all the frames yesterday, I gave them a quick sanding, and now they're ready for a few thin coats of spray lacquer. Right now I'm working on the panels that will be painted on, and I'm using an acrylic latex primer. I like to brush a little of the primer on the surface and then spread it out with a foam roller. an easy way to attach the Velcro tabs is to attach all 4 to the back first, and then use the other part of the Velcro and stick that right onto it. And then just drop it right onto the frame. There's about 1/8 of an inch reveal all the way around the painting. And that's about it, really. I think it's a fun project. We had a good time with it yesterday, and I know that I'll always have this painting that Olivia did. You know, it's a good thing to take a couple of pictures maybe too, because I'll have pictures of her making the painting, which is fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.